Crouch. Bind. Set.
Joe presents the House of Rugby, together with Guinness.
Fuck me. Come on, man.
There was a wise man that once said, it's the hope that kills you. And sadly, it wasn't to be for England at Rugby World Cup 2019 final. First things first, it's congratulations to the Springboks. Let's give them a round of applause. What a masterful performance they have put on. A remarkable story that we're going to hear so much about over the next few days and weeks. Welcome, everybody, to our fourth and final House of Rugby Live, brought to you by Joe, together with our very good friends at Guinness and our very good friends here at Yokohama as well. Give yourselves a round of applause. You beautiful team. Often it's quite a good thing, I think, when you're disappointed, when you've been hit for six, just to come together and have a quick drink. Just to debrief on what has been an amazing tournament, but I suppose a heartbreaking final for England. Before we do anything else, could we also have an enormous round of applause for our two superstars here, Mr. James Haskell, Mr. Mike Tyndall. Well done, fellas. How are we feeling? Sum up where we are.
Look, I think obviously, I'm very disappointed, but I think first things first, you've got to credit South Africa. I thought they were incredible today. You know, the beauty of any sport, and especially the sport we love, rugby, you genuinely never know what's going to happen until the game starts. There's all the rhetoric beforehand, there's all the apprehension, the nerves, the pundits in the know suggest one thing. And when you come to a final, things can happen. And I thought South Africa were brilliant today. I thought they played their game and the way they did it particularly well. I thought England just didn't settle. I thought there was going to be nerves for the first kind of 10, 15 minutes. We would force things a little bit, but we would settle into our groove, and we never did that. And I think South Africa were deserving winners. I think what a journey they've been on. A year and a half ago they couldn't win a raffle, and now look at them. They've come together. They won the Rugby Championship, and now they've gone on to win the World Cup in emphatic fashion. And I think what's really important about our sport is we've got to stay level-headed in everything we do. You have to respect England and all the journey they do, but you also have to applaud the opposition. And I sit here going, on the day today, South Africa were absolutely unbelievable. Yeah. They smashed us in every area, and that doesn't take away from what England have done. But you've got to be humble in defeat, and fair play to them.
Well done. Well said, Has. Well said. You are among the better people I know at drowning your sorrows.
Thank you.
Where do you see it all? Did England blow it, or were the box too good?
Look, if we had the discussion about, I was going to lay into how boring South Africa were on Tuesday's show, and you wouldn't let me do it because you didn't want me to give them free ammunition for their team talk. But they came out today and they squeezed us as we knew they would, and we just fell into traps. Ultimately, if you can't win your scrum ball, if you're under that much pressure in the scrum, obviously Sinclair going off that early, we were then under pressure. And even some of the calls that were 50-50, we end up losing because of how... And every time then we're back in our own half. And then we started playing rugby in our own half. And there was at one point I was like, are we fucking Australia? Why are we playing this many phases in our own half? But that is the nature of what South Africa did, and you can't take anything away. I'm on a WhatsApp group with 150 South Africans. It's been the most painful thing that I had to write in my life. Dear Smutbies, well done to South Africa was the hardest thing, because they were hands and shoulders above, way better than
hands and shoulders.
Hands and shoulders, knees and toes. Heads and shoulders.
Knees and toes.
They were armpits and knees.
Armpits and knees better than us. They were. And they just were in every facet. That we know how good their defence is, and we played into that. We just didn't get any gain line breaks. We didn't get speed of ball. When we did, they had one good hit that then stopped us, and we just didn't play smart rugby. And on another day, maybe a different result. But today, the right team won at the end of the day on today.
Therefore, with that in mind, do England have regrets off the back of the game today, or do they just doff their cap and say, deserved it?
Look, I've never got close to a World Cup final. I have played in finals and lost. And, it's the most devastating feeling because in professional sport, more often than not, there's a tomorrow. So you play a Premiership game, you lose, there's a tomorrow. You go and get to a Premiership final. Yes, it's devastating, but you get to start again in a period of time. For a World Cup, it's for 4 years, and you don't get an opportunity. And I think that, I was in camp the other day, and I watched them train. And if you said to them, did England underprepare? Absolutely not. Were they mentally in the right place? Yes, they were. Did they know exactly what was going to be the threat? Yes, they did. And I think what was indicative of the way England played was in the first 20 minutes against New Zealand, we talked about what were the key indicators that England would be performing well. And that was getting over the gain line every time they carried, stopping New Zealand, being really dynamic in a breakdown, and a discipline was immaculate. This game here, 5 or 6 carries from South Africa straight over our gain line, indiscipline and penalties. We couldn't get over the gain line, and we were found wandering. And you think to yourself in the final, you talk about people dealing with nerves, and people are able to put that to one side, but they're still human. So a few errors, that Ben Young's forced pass over the top, Billy trying to play in his own half. You think to yourself, look, we'll get that, we'll get over that, it'll be fine. But we just never caught our breath. The problem was that South Africa were incredible on that area. They did what they did so well. And at the end of the day, Tins, we did stop him last week because he wanted to lay in. And he's very honest. I think it's great for the show about his the way that South Africa don't score tries. They're going to kick the ball. They kick the ball 80 times against Wales. They're going to kick the ball 100 times against England. But they do what you do very well. And at the end of the day, they're staring down the barrel of winning a World Cup. We're not close. So I think the boys will be devastated because they know that if they had got a few areas right, we would have been more competitive and much more likely to win that World Cup. And unfortunately, in this sport, in the World Cup, there is no tomorrow. The lads are done. They're going to just have this sitting over them the whole time, and it's a horrible sensation that's going to eat away at you. And there is no magic wand. And it's interesting having Chloe here with me. We talk about stuff, and she talks to the other partners, and they all try to be level-headed. But it doesn't matter what anyone ever says to you. In that moment of disappointment, you're just going to have that voice in your head going, this is it, it's done, you've missed out. And it doesn't matter, people go, well, listen, you tried really hard, and you had a great tournament, you've done everyone proud. All you're going to see, tunnel vision, is pure fucking unadulterated disappointment and letting that fade. And it's a sad reality of any professional sportsman that there is nothing, doesn't matter what, no one can reassure you. And I just hope that when all this settles and they clear it and the media and people are level-headed, fans are level-headed, we show some rationality, that those lads, when they're on the flight back, they know they realise what an amazing job they did do, and how we went from not getting out of our pool stages of last World Cup to being probably the most successful England side for a period of time, getting that unbeaten, getting level with that unbeaten record, having that dip, coming back out of it, getting to a final in a brilliant fashion, and to have beaten Australia, New Zealand, and then South Africa was a huge ask, and it would have made us, no disrespect to Mike, it would have been a fairy tale World Cup, but they won't do that. But I think hopefully they should be proud of what they did.
Yeah.
Well said.
I've been through a little bit of an emotional roller coaster because normally I don't get really emotionally attached, because generally when I look at England's World Cup, I'm thinking, well, I could do with 4 more years of free corporate cash.
Too soon, Tids, too soon.
But then after last weekend and how good they were last weekend, I was like, right, I'm all in. I think this team deserves to go on and win it, and it just didn't happen today. So I was completely irrational after when the final whistle went. Zoe was like saying, "Look, it's great for South Africa," and I'm like, "No, it's not. It's not going to fix their problems, is it?" And she's like, "I'll think about it a little." I'm not in. I'm not in it. And then now I've had a 40-minute walk here that sort of brought my emotions back. But it is going to be great for the country, and realistically, I think it's going to be a harsh. On my walk, I was like, right, what can I say to Johnny May? Because obviously he's a good mate of mine. So I sent Johnny a message, and then I thought, right, I'm going to send Faz a message, because I believe they've built something that could be the start of something special. Mm-hmm. And so I sent him a message. I said, mate, look, this is an absolute wounder, but let it sting, make sure the boys stay together, have a chat with them, because I think you're on a journey to somewhere special, and just make sure you stay together, have a good time tonight. It's going to come good in the end, because I generally think what they've shown in parts, this, we talk about, if you ever with Richie McCaw or Dan Carter, they'll talk about 2007 and that loss. Sometimes you have to be really stung, and they were stung today. They were just not quite there. But I think it might teach them a lesson where suddenly you'll get this team that has been fantastic through this World Cup, but it will get better now, and I hope that's the case.
That's got to get a cheer.
Do you know what's two really interesting things as well with you reaching out to text the guys and stuff is that when you play a performance like last week, you get messages from people you didn't even know were your friends. Like you get messages on your phone, you're like, A, how the hell did you get my number? And B, why are you messaging me? And normally it comes around that World Cup time, but what's disappointing is when you lose, and you lose like this, is that you suddenly lose the 100,000 friends you had. And you normally get a message from your mum, because whatever happens, if your mum's still around, she always loves you, or your dad. And if you're lucky enough to have
Your mum still loves you?
Yeah, she does, just about. She's got rose-tinted glasses, so she's absolutely fine. But then you also get a message from Mrs. But that's about it. And I think it's important that, like I said, I reached out to the guys as well and messaged them, because you just got to understand how important it is. And I think you're right; they are onto something. Hopefully, I know Eddie's extended his contract, but he's a guy that puts so much effort into a job. It can be quite emotionally draining. He gives everything. He pushes everybody, pushes the players, pushes the management to the nth degree.
Yeah.
And I think it paid off, but it's to then think you've got to reset and go for another 4 years to get this moment. It's hard, but hopefully if they can keep it together, if they can use that disappointment, it is important. And I think as well what Mike said about South Africa. Look, I think what's indicative of the world at the moment, if you look at, and I don't want to get political because it's a minefield, but in terms of, if you look at South Africa and the issues they've got, if you look at the world in general, I think what an inspiring thing to see a black captain lift that trophy, and how important that is. When you've got a massive issue with bigotry coming from America, you've got people in charge just disregarding, and it's bizarre that in 2019 sexuality, race, everything else is still an issue. We've evolved in so many different areas, but yet we're still so backward in so many aspects that I think it's so important that for South Africa as a country, you're right, it's not going to fix everything, but actually sport is what unites us all. And this is why people who live a Monday to Friday cannot wait for their Saturday, Sunday to support their football team, to support their rugby team, because they're not happy with what they have, but they can get behind a team. And I think that's the beauty of it. And I think it's really important that we acknowledge that. Sorry to interrupt you. I'm not trying to go on a rant, but the best bit out of all this, putting the World Cup to one side, is that when Mike talks about Zoe, he's talking about his darling wife, Zara. So some bloke wrote, so if you follow our shows, House of Rugby is available as a podcast on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube as well as a show.
It's on multiple platforms.
It's on multiple platforms. That's the kind of level we've reached. Don't worry about it.
It's it's basically like Tokyo. You don't never look at the ground floor.
Yeah.
Always look up.
Yeah. But don't be careful.
There's always another floor.
Yeah.
You might not want to go to seventh heaven. Don't go in there, by the way.
Go to too many floors. You're 70 grand in a hole with a bottle of champagne and a woman you didn't want. We've all been there. I said we haven't been there. My wife's over there. We absolutely haven't been there. With the Zoe chat, right? So we obviously referring to Zara as Zoe. The Daily Mail, in their infinite wisdom, and the Inquirer from America have written a massive, extensive article that apparently that is Mike's actual secret nickname for his darling wife is Zoe. So we have reached unbelievable heights. We're now causing an absolute stir across the world.
What they don't realise that we read out mean tweets and some dickhead got her name wrong.
Don't let the truth wear against story. So apparently she's genuinely called Zoe at home.
Yeah, she is now called Zoe, to be fair.
Do you want to start any other rumours this week? Have a little think about it.
I don't know. What can we start
Politics?
this week?
You're going into politics would be a good start.
Definitely.
Is it true that she dresses up as Boris Johnson and you tackle her for a quiet night in? Is that true?
Let's not go there, James.
Sorry.
Moving.
That's what she said.
Hello, Mail Online. Can we get back to the rugby, or do you want to? I'm livening up a bit now. I'm livening up. I do want to very quickly pick up on the two other things that we talked about, the Sia Khaleesi element, because we did a lovely show with Elmer Schmidt on Thursday. who spoke so incredibly eloquently about the impact of what this will have for South African rugby, South Africa in general, and about Siya Kolisi's story. I mean, for all the disappointment of England fans, it is actually easier to park it when you consider the impact it is going to have in South Africa, isn't it?
Yeah, well, you hope it will have
The potential.
significant impact. I mean, I've been lucky enough to sort of spend a bit of time with Francois Pienaar over the last 2 weeks, and he's always talked about it. Like even last week, he was screaming that he wanted them to play more, and he was frustrated, like I was, at how they were playing. But then this week, you see him on the TVs, and he's fully in, he's fully in as a South African fan, and he generally believes it will make a huge difference, and they need it. And I hope that it does then inspire change and inspire. Obviously Salisi with his story is amazing, and we that's the beauty of rugby. We want more of those stories, and we want the ability. All we are is 15 guys who take the field. Well, 23 guys now take the field and beat the shit out of each other, and at the end of the day, we become friends. And if it shouldn't matter what walk of life, you should be able to do it, and it doesn't matter what the colour of your skin is, it doesn't matter where you come from, what your race is, what your religion is. You should be able to just don your boots, don the field, and go out and play. If we can help and that makes a change, then it is worth it. Of course, it is worth it.
Yeah.
If it changes 10 people's lives, it's worth it.
Yeah.
If it changes one person's life, it's worth it. So look, let's wait and see what happens, and I hope they embrace it. I hope the Rainbow Nation fully embraces it, and we get a stronger South Africa, because as James said, 18 months ago they were pretty much dead on their arse.
Yeah.
If they could, but we need South Africa competing at the highest level all the time. So
that was the following question I was going to ask, is everyone for years and for World Cups past has spoken of a 4-year cycle and how the whole thing to get ready takes 4 years, and you've got to try things, move things on. But if you look at England, who had a spike off the back of 2015 and then dropped, and actually probably have only really sorted themselves out since November last year, really. And you look at South Africa, who lost to Italy in November 2016. They lost 8 on the bounce in November 2016. Rassie's had 18 months to take a pretty disbanded bunch of guys, and now they're world champions. Is that, a word on Rassie first of all, and the achievements of picking up the rabble and turning them into world champions?
I think sometimes a new broom sweeps clean. It's actually quite good because you pick up. You've got short timetables. You've got short things. It's what Warren Gatland is always done with the Lions. Those kind of short blasts. But obviously, what he's brought in is he's got the players playing for each other. They're playing in a style that suits South Africa. That's the key with, I think, coaching in general, is picking up a game plan that suits your players. A lot of people have these big visions and high-powered ideas, but they often don't fit the framework of the team you've got and the players you've got. And I think what Rassie's done is incredible. I think South Africa, they came into this World Cup as I believe favourites. I think you can never discount New Zealand, and I think look, I was always confident about England, but I think we weren't quite the finished article. We were playing well, but not quite to that level. And then South Africa lost against New Zealand, and I thought, oh look, the wheel's going to come off. Then they probably weren't playing the most attractive brand of rugby, which sometimes get criticised. But actually, at the end of the day, they got to the final, they won it in emphatic fashion. And I think what's interesting about South Africa is that every 12 years they peak. That's their kind of cycle. They kind of have that ability to do that. And we were doing a pre-match thing today, and someone brought that up, and it was their day to win a World Cup again, and they did it. And I think Rassie's going to go to become more a performance director after this World Cup and move out. So whoever they bring in, I hope they have that consistency, because South Africa, for me, as a young player and as a fan, were always a powerhouse. And it was sad to see them kind of dip, lose their way. Yeah. But it's great to see them back up exactly where they are, world champions. They do it so well, and it's a shame that it's at England's expense.
Yeah. Someone told me this morning, they were like, 1991, we lost in the final. We won in 2003. 2007, we lost in the final. 2019, I was like, yeah, we're fucking winning. This is it. We are winning. Not quite worked out as I planned it this morning. I did say the score would be 33-12.
Did you?
But I went to England.
Right, yeah.
Wrong way around, but...
Do you know what's even worse about this is that I love the chat between Warren Gatland and Eddie Jones. So Warren Gatland fired first shots. Eddie buried him. Gatz is now sitting there going, good man.
He's just like that, isn't he? Spinning the revolving, just putting bullets in like that.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
I wonder what he's going to get a little text going, what's it like, silver medal, mate?
Do you reckon he'll just fire out a little tweet, or?
I don't know, because it was a bit of a sour taste in those things. When Warren said something, which I thought. I think it was quite clever because he was deflecting away from Wales not making the final, just threw a grenade out there because Eddie and him are competitive. Eddie buried him with an absolute mortar, like a full tank round straight to the face, which I thought was genius because you love it. Like if you're going to go big, it's like last week all the fuss about the hacker. If you do all this stuff and then you get absolutely filled in, then it pales into insignificant. It means nothing. But to actually do it, you can then be like, well, we guessed right. So for him to wait, I don't know. I don't think he would do it publicly. I wouldn't put it past him firing him a little message.
Just a little tweet. Just a little. Told you.
Send him a box of Kleenex, dry your eyes. That was the best thing that actually ever came out of something I did when I got a parcel at Wasps once, and it was a single tissue with just a message written on it going, "This should clean up your whiffy banter." And I thought, I love that. I mean, it could have been a parcel bomb, but someone had done me with an absolute banter grenade that I just pulled the pin out. And I thought, motherfuckers. But that's maybe what he does. Yeah. Maybe he'll send a box of Kleenex to Eddie or something like that.
Dry your eyes, pal.
Yeah. Do you think Eddie stays on? I know he's got another 2 years on his contract. I mean, how great is the challenge off the back of something like that?
Look, I think he should. I think I would like to see him stay on. I've had a bit of a sort of roller coaster with Eddie in terms of whether I think he's the right guy, whether I think he's the wrong guy. He's great when you're winning and all the banter he throws out, and as Haas said, the burying of Gats last week. But then when we're losing and we actually need answers, he doesn't really ever give proper answers, but he knows what he's doing. So I don't know. I think he'll want to stay on. I think he likes this group of players. Yeah. I definitely like this group of players as well, and I think they are on a journey to somewhere where they could be a really special team. Anyone who can play, and I know we're going back a week, and we said on the show on Tuesday that the New Zealand game only matters if they won this week, and they didn't. Yeah. But still, to play at a level that they played that week, to know that is in them, I think it's a special group of players, and I think he'll want to be involved in that. I think he realises that, but he has that in him to just be able to break ties and leave it for the next guy. So I would hope he stays on for a bit longer, because I think he can impart more wisdom on this group, and hopefully he will do that, and we'll get better for it.
I hope in these situations, because what's happened in the past, I think because we got to the final, that should excuse it. But I've already seen, in the age of social media, where sadly everybody can just instantly share an opinion, and some people should just either have their phone confiscated for life or their hands removed. I mean, just so they can never. Good luck tweeting with your nose, pal. That would be, if you can get an insult out with your nose, fair play. But I saw like some of the players' scores and stuff, that the players' ratings and stuff. They were obviously done. First half sent before. Everyone got a 4 out of 10. Everyone's this. Everyone's crap. Fans are like your shit house. All the stuff that the not proper people with any sort of level-headedness or intelligence say have been doing that. I just hope that we allow that to wash over yourself. Eddie's able to reflect, because my concern is that it's so demanding, this job. It's not just about coaching a team, as Stuart Lancaster found. He was a genuinely lovely guy, and a guy that was unbelievably hard-working. But he found out that it was a little about coaching. It was politics with the RFU. It was politics with the media. You were doing 1,000,001 different things. I think Eddie's done it brilliantly well, but it is emotionally draining. It takes a lot of sacrifice, especially the way Eddie works. So I hope that we allow him to have that time of breathing, that the people that he hasn't... Because, Eddie comes at journalists. Like, I've been in press conferences where journalists have asked stupid questions, and he said it in the last podcast. It's the only walk of life, the media, where you can literally say what you want to someone in a meeting room, write an article, and you have no accountability. You can do what you want. You just got anonymity. You can say, "Well, I'm just a face," and get away with it. And Eddie always call people out. But that's a bit like me. It's a dangerous path to go, because when you make a mistake, you're 10 times more likely to get knifed in the back and knifed in the front by everyone. So I just hope that as a team, we appreciate what South Africa done, we appreciate what England done, we stay level-headed, we don't come out with the usual British media or English media of like, sack everyone, forget it, cancel, change, because I genuinely don't think there is anyone in the world that could take England onto a stage. I don't see any English coaches could do it. I don't see anyone could fill it. And normally, you see it in the football mentality, sack everyone, fire everyone, but it's like, who are you going to replace him with? Yeah. And that's my big concern. So hopefully everyone is calm and level-headed.
I don't think... I don't think we're there. I hope we're not there because you look at the team. What's the average age of the team? Go through that forward pack. They have got at least 5 more years as a team. The back line have still got another 5 years in them. You know, they're not old guys. So this is why I see them on the start of a journey where they've had a very, very harsh lesson today. Would they say they delivered what they wanted to deliver? No, they didn't. But I think we're going to get. I generally think we're into an era where we could dominate rugby for a while if we get it right. And I think that involves Eddie staying on for a bit longer. And working with this group and just making them more robust. I think we've seen through this tournament they can play multiple different ways, whether it be a dominating game in terms of territory and field position, or whether, like what we saw last week, where they just dominate possession and actually run over a team. Today we got mugged by a smarter team, I think, who played their game and imposed their game better than what we did. But I think this group of players can play rugby union in multiple ways, whether they want to play loose and go wide to our amazing wingers. I think Watson was probably the best player for England for me. We can use that, or we can play tight with Manu, or we can go up the guts with our forward pack. So we have the ability to play multiple different styles, and hopefully Eddie will stay on and we can work on that. And I think this team could become the best team consistently in the world at the moment.
That is encouraging. What advice would you give to the England team tonight?
If you can separate yourself and apply logic, which you know sportsmen are able to do, I've never been able to do it. You know, if we won and I missed a few tackles or did something wrong, that's all I was thinking about. That's all I wanted to talk about. Negativity. I think it's very hard, the psychological element. But I would say to them, listen, guys, take a moment, go and enjoy each other's company. You've worked. You know, however many weeks they've worked together, how much hardship they've been through, how much training. You know. They deserve to celebrate in each other's company. I'd say keep your noses clean. There's plenty of pitfall that you just don't want to fall into because that can become distracting. But I would say go and enjoy yourselves. Stay together tight. Appreciate each other's company. Celebrate in the right way and know that you did your very, very best. And that anyone with half a brain is unbelievably proud of you.
Yeah.
And that's, you know.
I mean, there's no one in here who's not proud of that England team, right?
No.
That's good to hear. Who will be the characters that slap a few backsides and pour a couple of drinks and start to get it moving again?
Cow and Dickie?
Yeah. If you pull the pin out of Cow and Dickie, you're in a lot of trouble. He's like a Tasmanian devil. Look, I think Owen's got a big responsibility tonight. I think actually what was interesting, Kosei Ono, the Suntory and a former Japanese fly half, I was doing stuff with him today, and one of the things Eddie invited him into training, and he'd been training for the last kind of 4 weeks, and he said what was really interesting for him as a player, and he's 32 and ex-international, was watching how Ben and Owen, Fordy and Owen talk to the team, the way they communicate and everything else. I think in these moments it's important for him to stand up and to lead. I think people like Billy have got to raise that energy. Joe Marler, you know, he's a real character around the squad. I think Ben Youngs. I think these guys are going to have to put their pure disappointment to one side to make sure the likes of, you know, Underhill, Tom Curry, you know, Marrow, these boys are encouraged to stay together. And however painful it is, you know, when we got knocked out in 2015, all I wanted to do, and the same thing in 2011, just sit in my hotel room and not talk to anyone. I didn't want to go out. I didn't want to do anything. But you have to get up. You have to go together. Yeah. And I think, you know, what's important as well is that if there's an opportunity, I don't think there is post-match stuff, but, you know, if there was an opportunity to sit with the South Africans and congratulate them.
Tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah.
They'll have a World Cup.
Fine, they'll have a World, you know, be able to share those kind of stories and appreciate it, and be able to look your opposition in the eye and go, you know, for example, I thought, even though according to Daily Mail, Dwayne Vermeulen was only a 5 out of 10 or something, or 6 out of 10. I thought he was unbelievable tonight at that breakdown. I thought he was fantastic. So it's quite nice to look at your opposition in a game where you don't get to spend a lot of time anymore. It's very much wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. You turn up, you play the game, you don't really see him in the bar afterwards, you're off to Ice Bath on to the next game. To actually go and have a beer with the South Africans, sit in their change rooms, go and look them in the eye and share some stories and get to meet people that you wouldn't already meet. I don't know.
I agree. I think that's going to be the key. Is just having, look, we can analyse this game. They can sit down, they go through video footage for the next 3 months
Will they do that?
Well, look, I think Eddie will look at it because it's an experience gauge, isn't it? It's this team's so good that they need to learn from experiences and situational learning. So I think they will look at it. But tonight, it's about just, right, lads, we've given us life and soul for 4 months. Let's just go spend some time in each other's company and have a good night.
Yeah.
And hopefully they will do that and they'll enjoy that and there'll be a better group out of it.
I think as well, what's important, we talk a lot about Eddie, but Steve Borthwick's, Neil Hatley's, all the backroom staff in South Africa. These teams don't come together. I know the head coaches take all the plaudits, but actually, for example, I can only talk about the England side, but Steve Borthwick probably the hardest hardest working man in world rugby. I think he was doing something like 2,000-3,000 miles a week, some ridiculous thing, driving around the country, seeing the players, talking to them and committing to them. I think for him to be successful, he needs to keep that team together. John Mitchell, I think where he's come in after Paul Gustard raised the bar, John Mitchell's taking it on. I think if you look at Rassie Erasmus and his team, those support staff, there were some amazing moments where you could see, I think Dwayne Vermeulen was hugging and crying one of the coaches from South Africa. It's important to keep those things together because it's not one man that makes it's like a recipe, isn't it? It's not one food that makes the whole meal. It's all the different ingredients that come together. And I think both sides have that balance. And I hope that Eddie is able to put that together. And you remember that for 4 months the players have been away, 4 months the support staff have been away. Everybody's been putting everything in to get it right. And hopefully in both camps everyone gets to celebrate that. One obviously more so than the other.
Worth remembering, actually, that there's one of the South African support staff is Felix Jones, the ex-Ireland fullback. So we've got an Irishman with the World Cup win. Let's give Felix Jones a cheer. Good on you, sunshine. Coulda, woulda, shouldas, irrelevant at this point, or will there be a point where they have a little bit of a reflection and think, actually, do you know, if we tried this or we've done that? Is that irrelevant?
No, I think it's irrelevant, really. I think, obviously, when you've come off a bad loss, you always think about what could we have done, what should we have done, and what you do hope is that you've left your heart and soul on the pitch and you can walk away without having to really think that. I mean, will England do that? I think in the times to come, I think there'll be a few things they said that, but I don't think it's relevant. It's a World Cup final. It's a one-off game. They gave everything. I don't think the lack of effort was there.
Yeah.
I just think they got caught into traps that South Africa set for them. And fair play to South Africa that they had a plan and they came out and they executed it better than what we did. So I don't think you look too deep on it.
I think what's interesting as well in international rugby, and it was actually under Stuart Lancaster who showed us a graphic that actually made sense more so than anything else, was a positive negative. And it was when we played
momentum-wise.
Yeah, when we played New Zealand. So positive negative in terms of momentum for a game. So for example, if you look at the game today, everything South Africa did, they didn't compound negativity. So, for example, they made a mistake. The next two plays were positive. England would force a pass, negative, give a penalty away at a scrum, negative, and they were compounding things. So as South Africa's positivity when momentum was going up, England was going down. And that is all that international rugby is the ability for you to be able to go, do you know what, everyone's going to make mistakes, everyone drops the ball, everyone misses a kick. That should not play a part. What it is your next action. And where England went wrong today, and what will be the real disappointment is, lose a penalty or something happens.
Kick a penalty, and immediately off the restart, give a penalty.
Exactly, yeah. That's the moment where you look as a coach and go, "That's not right." And I was in camp this week, and if you said to me, did England, why weren't they at the races? Did they play the game too much last week? And what Warren said, no, there was 30 players training. One player, Willie Hines, wasn't training, and they played with an unbelievable intensity. The forwards were, full contact maul, training. Everyone was dynamic. It was very intense. It was, for that point in time, it was like there was a World Cup final, and then when training finished, they weren't right. And so when you get to a game like that, it's actually just down to the fact that we play a fucking sport that's down to the bounce of the ball, which has so many uncontrollables. The shoulda, woulda, couldas. I don't think you could have done anything different. I think Eddie will dissect everything because that's what makes him such a good coach, and they will look at the processes, look at everything else. But at the end of the day, it was the momentum and the positive, negative momentum that we compounded one error after an error. And when we had one good moment, the next moment we made a mistake again. And that is all international rugby is. And South Africa were just good, positive, negative, positive, and that's what happened. And unfortunately, as you see it in a graph, they went up. ours went down. There was a moment in that second half when we got close to the line where we had 26 or 27 phases. Should have scored.
We needed to score.
We needed to score. They managed to block us. We didn't. I don't think we missed the kick. That's again just taking the pressure off, and that's all professional sport is, that ability to convert that. And today we were lacking. But the problem is, it's not down to one man. It's down to elements, and everybody was making mistakes for different areas. Discipline at the scrum. You know, the scrum's 50-50. No one the fuck knows what's going on in the scrum apart from the front row. Like, everyone always do know. That's why I've said this before, right? Front row props are like mechanics, right? They have made it so complicated that nobody understands but them. So, you know, if you take your car into the garage, right, and the mechanic says to you, sorry, love, you've got a problem with your carburetor, the extractor fan's not working, the old belt's gone. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. And they're like, well, I'll tell you what, it's take a couple of weeks.
Here's a number, and I'll fix it.
$2,000 is going to cost you. You're like, fuck, I could get a second opinion, but I honestly don't know what he just said. I'll pay $2,000. It's the same thing with a prop. It's the same with a prop. I've said it before, right? It's three fat people that should shut up and just push, but they're not. They're all cheating, doing angles, going down. Everyone's looking at the referee. The referee ain't got a clue. Nobody knows what it is. So when that's not going right, and people are dropping the ball and things, it becomes a complete melange and an absolute fuck up, which is just a melange sport, isn't it?
Anything else?
The House of Scrummaging by hand.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Honestly,
Sub-brand.
I said that when we had Graham Roundtree as a scrum coach, he used to get really upset because what they would do is in meetings, right, when you prepare for a game, you go through the line outs, you look at moves, when you go for back moves, you look at your defence. When it comes to scrums, right, they show you like 5 or 6 clips of what the front row are going to do. And the back row are sitting there and they're like, right, this guy needs to, you're like, what? Honestly, in 18 and a half seasons, nothing changed for me. Nothing changed. All I did was go to the prop. Come on, mate, you've got this. And I pushed, and I had to sit through hours and hours and hours of shit with fucking like the loose head, the tight head. I don't even know which ones they are, right? Right? Who cares? Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? One's got an easier ride.
Which is proven on our 15 where we always pick loose.
Yeah, exactly. Who cares, right? And all they do is they talk about this, they show you this guy's going to bore in, this guy's going to do this, got long bar. Doesn't matter. All I've got is one fat bloke in his arse. I've just got to push him. Yeah. And they've made it so complicated that now the referee's like, advantage. You're like, no. You didn't know what was going on. Everyone's conning everybody. Everyone's tricking everyone. It's just bullshit. Forget scrums. Cancel.
But then any. Pass. Yeah. You just stepped over. There's an invisible line.
Yeah.
Never step over that.
Nah. It's only because all the people who play are fat lads as well. Because honestly, it's what I mean. They're like,
hands up if you've ever played in the front row. Look at that. It's a sea of front rows.
It's because rugby's inclusive, isn't it? All shapes and sizes. I tell you what, one shape we get out, the barrel shape, we can move that to one side. Yeah, get them out.
But I've never met a scrum coach who doesn't think they can get one over on the team.
Yeah.
And obviously, I was a backs coach at Gloucester. And I'm like, I just want the ball. And he goes, no, I think we can scrum long, they call it, scrum long, which is basically what South Africa were doing today. They scrum long to get penalties. I'm like, I don't want you to fucking scrum long. Just give our backs the ball. We've got Freddie Burns, we've got myself, we've got Sharples.
Well, don't we give the ball to you, mate?
I'll run a very cunning decoy.
Sinbad?
We had Sinbad, but every day, Stan would say, no, I think we can take him in the scrum. I'm like, let's not take him. It's asking the referee. And then suddenly we're getting penalised off the park. He goes, second night, I'm like, mate, can we just have the ball? What do they call it?
Route 1.
Yeah.
Can we have the ball?
Channel 1.
Channel 1, yes.
He goes,
for the aficionados.
And he goes, no, we've made some tweaks at half time. We can get them in the second half.
We're scrumming long.
But do you know what the best thing is well about being a scrum coach or an assistant coach is that everybody's always in your team. So you've never thought about this, right? So when you're in a big team, all the scrum coaches, assistant coaches, when you don't get picked, because the forward coach has to tap you on the shoulder on a Tuesday and say, right, you're not going to be in the team this week. We're going to go with extra, that's right. You know, I've spoken to James, but we're going to go with Tom Wood and Chris Robshaw again. I was like, right, okay, I can't deal with it, right? So that's what, but scrum coaches oh, listen, if I was picking the team, you would have been in my team. Everybody's in their team because they're not in charge of anything apart from the scrum. And there's only the front way care about the scrum. That doesn't matter. But I guarantee assistant coaches, people around the country, how many people have you told, going, listen, not really funny, but if you were in, if I was picking the team, you'd be in my team now. You're like, you don't pick the team.
The world's best friend.
Yeah, everyone's best friend.
Here's a pop quiz for you all. Okay, so what links 97, 2001, 2009, 2017, 2021?
I know the answer.
Disappointment.
Not always.
90.
They are. Do you want to go again? 97,
I know what it is. Do they
2001,
know what it is?
2009, 2017, 2021.
Lions.
Lions
Lions?
falls against world champions. Oh, no, that's one for the Norses.
He doesn't get out a lot.
I don't get out very much. I've been in a barrel for a month.
What is wrong with you?
Because
No, no.
I want to throw it forward. I want to try and find a positive off the back of a fairly disappointing night. And what I was going to say is, Lions 2021, if we're looking for things to cheer us and warm us and look forward to again, that's going to be fairly seismic.
What, House of Rugby on a tour around South Africa in a
yeah.
minibus doing live shows?
Who's in? Who's in?
Sponsored by Guinness.
It's going to be. I think it's going to be a great trip. It's Mikey and Zoe's 10-year anniversary as well.
Is it really?
Congratulations.
Brilliant.
And it's her 40th as well, so we'll be fucking cutting up a rug. I can't wait. I think Lions trip's special. I think for some reason, I don't know why it is, whether it's that history of the 97's Lions trip, that
Living
still
with Lions.
just living with Lions, and that it makes it a special place to tour. But I can't wait for it, and it's definitely one that I'm going to go on. And I'm not even a rugby pig like you.
You are?
Yes.
Well, a bit.
You are. I've seen.
Secret.
Okay, secret. It's fine.
Secret rugby.
Alex is like an outward rugby Norse, but Mike, it turns out, is an absolute rugby
pretend.
aficionado. I'm very much out my depth with these two.
You are. Right, 2 more minutes just before we finish. Thank you. Just before we wrap things up, best moments of the last 3 weeks. We've had a lot of fun. Actually, we have had.
We have had some unbelievable fun.
Have had a lot of fun.
Some of my favourite moments have been obviously the live shows, just to see that how many people have come along, how many people listen to the podcast, bringing that kind of entertainment and being able to be really honest with people. I think it's been brilliant. I thought the karaoke last night
was sensational.
was incredible. I've never ever. Well,
You
no.
pull up something that I didn't make.
Sorry, but I want to know. I can't sing. I'm completely tone deaf. If you said to me on a night out, go singing, I'd probably throat punch you. I had to go last night because it was like part of a team thing, and I have never had more fun in my entire life. And the best bit was that producer Si and I sang Tiny Dancer by Elton John, who I tagged in, who only fucking looked at the videos and liked them. So I don't know, I don't want to preempt it, but we could be on stage with Elton very soon singing Tiny Dancer.
How does that go?
No, I won't sing it now.
How's it go?
No, because I haven't got the echo on the mic.
Okay, just before we crack into Tiny
I
Dancer.
think my
best bit for you?
favourite was when Haas saw his caricature and he was so upset with it that he literally went into a sulk.
Because it looked like Andy Good.
Because it looked like a fat Andy Good.
No, but it also looked like the cop from Stranger Things or Brian Blessed.
Yeah.
That was what I looked like. I thought the baseball was great until I realised I couldn't hit anything.
No.
And that was
Brian Blessed
embarrassing.
is all right.
We've done a little bit of culture.
Gordon!
Also, we had. I tell you what, we did enjoy ourselves. We had tea with a geisha.
Yes.
It was an eye-opening experience. When I fully put on a kimono and had a samurai sword and a hat, and it's borderline sort of, can I get away with that? Are we going to get criticism? It's 2019, one false move in your Jim Davidson, but we managed to get away with it. Chloe and I looked brilliant.
My biggest regret is not having Haas dressed as Bowser driving around in a Mario Kart in one of those.
Have any of you done the
buggies.
go-karts around
Has anyone
Tokyo?
done the go-karting?
Amazing. They are amazing.
Have you got international driver's licenses?
Yeah, how have you got an international driver? Who turns up with an
We've been
international
trying
driving
to do
licence?
it just so we can have Haas driving around Shibuya Junction like this.
It's been a hell of a trip, actually. It has been. Not only has it been an amazing trip, it's been an amazing World Cup, hasn't it? Have you guys and girls had an incredible, however long you've been out here? What a tournament. What a country. What amazing, amazing hosts. I think we'll wrap it up because you need another drink. I think everyone needs a drink in here. I hope, do you feel a little bit better? We've sort of put a little bit of a debrief together. Thank you for coming. We're going to be back with another show on Tuesday the 12th of November. I want to say thank you actually to all the guests who come on the shows as well. We've had John Schmidt, Justin Marshall, Kirsty Stanway and the wonderful Elmer Schmidt. So thank you very much indeed to all of them. Well done, round of applause for our superstars. I also want to say a really, really, really big thank you. We've had some lovely messages over the last couple of weeks just about how much people have enjoyed House of Rugby and the trip that we've been on. So I do want to say a particularly big thank you to all the crew who have been utter superstars, led by producer Si. Ladies and gents, give us a big round of applause.
Otherwise known as Fuck Si.
But producer Si was captain of the McDonald's Five, and in the McDonald's Five was Si, Jack, George, Matt, and JP. So thanks to you, and apologies and lots of love from us. And we've had Mike, Zander, John, and the legend that is the Guinness fetcher Murray. So a round of applause for all of that crew here as well. We've worn an inordinate amount of stash. You've only actually worn our stash over the course of the last few days. If you'd like a T-shirt, they are available.
All aboard the hash tray.
Shop.joe.co.uk. We've finished with a flourish. Shop.joe.co.uk. House of Rugby merchandise is available if you'd like to buy it. I want to say a massive thank you to you two. We've had a really good time, haven't we?
Yeah. I think we've
I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you guys when we finally get out of here.
Hey, all I'll say is we've got one night left, baby.
We've got one night left. Let's make it sing. And the final thanks goes to everyone who's tuned in, who's watched, who's enjoyed it, who's left us comments, who's sent us feedback, and sent us an inordinate amount of abuse as well. Thank you to all of you. Thank you to our wonderful live audience. Safe journeys home when the time comes. Well done, South Africa. World champions in 2019. And we'll see you again very soon. From all of us, big girls.
You've been watching the House of Rugby on Joe, together with Guinness. Drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.co.uk for the facts.